Now, while Sheila and I were good at helping people improve their own creative fluency because we aligned them with their passion and the program that we ran, and naturally from there, their DNA driven creativity began to help them manifest what they wished in their passion. Just like my DNA driven creativity has helped me through my life to find better and better and better ways to help people be great physically, mentally, socially, emotionally, and spiritually. There had to be something more. Well, there was. This creative process that you hear about these days, the universal creative process, creative problem solving, was articulated by that same guy, Alex Osborne, along with an academic friend of his, Sid Parnes, back in the 1950s. Now, they didn't invent it, they observed it, and they saw this pattern. But the natural question was, once you see the pattern, can you name it? And if you name it, can you help people improve it? Can you maybe do research on what things work to help people improve it? That kind of thing. Now, since that time, since they articulated this universal creative process, there have been many other creative processes that are kind of brand spin-offs from this primary one. You'll hear about design thinking or human-centered design, which is very popular these days. You hear about Kepner-Trago or synectics. Recently, with his death, Edward de Bono's death, who was a luminary in the field, you might hear of things that he brought forward, like six thinking hats, which is a method to help people in their divergent and convergent thinking, or lateral thinking that de Bono popularized for periods of time. In the manufacturing space, you might hear about lean or Lean Six Sigma or lean product design. All of these are methodologies to help people kind of step by step go through a more creative process. So this universal creative process follows 7 steps. People articulate them in subtly different ways, but as we've continued to refine the language, here's the way that we're going to explain it. And understand that each of these 7 steps has a divergent component where we seek lots of options and a convergent component where we narrow down on the options that we're going to choose. So the first step of any creative process has to be a desire. I've talked about it as a passion in the innovator's values. In the creative process, we say identify a goal, a wish, or an opportunity that you want to pursue. So you find some goal or wish or opportunity. Larkin, when somebody said, hey, can I get a chair for the desk? He saw an opportunity, but he had a problem to solve because he didn't have any chairs, right? So he saw that opportunity. Me, when I was young, I had this goal or this wish of becoming really good at helping people live the life they want, be great, make the world a better place, different ways that I've articulated that over my life. So you identify that goal or wish amongst all the goals or wishes that you have. I have more than I could possibly attain in a lifetime. So what are those things? And you articulate that in a diverged list, and then you say, okay, what can I reasonably work on now, right? In a particular thing. If at Sam Adams, they were trying to grow their market share, they might say, well, let's develop another taste profile and let's do a little research and learn about what taste profile are we not quite touching in the market so we can put a product into that particular taste profile desire. That's the second step of this creative process. You gather insight and data and knowledge that allow you to do well going forward in the creative process. Now, there's lots of information. I talked about Tom Tominac being a polymath. My brain has always got a lot of information in it because I have interest across so many different domains, this polymathic way of being. So sometimes the information that I have is not terribly useful for a particular thing we're working on. So if I've done my divergence, when I do my convergence on all the important data, the important insights, the important human factors around a particular thing, and narrow it down, I've done my convergence. Now I've got that data in my mind. So what do I do next? Now I'm really ready to ask myself, what might be all of the problems that are getting in the way of my ability to achieve this goal or wish or take advantage of this opportunity that's presented itself to me? So I'm going to make a big list of problems. Now, you've already learned, without me saying it out loud, a real trick when you're generating a list of problems, and that's that every problem always has to be asked in the form of a question. Not like I said before, why are you so stupid? Or not like, where's the desk? Or where's the chair for the desk? But instead, what might be all of the ways to source a chair for the desk? Or what might be all of the ways to take cost out of the desk so we make great margins still on this promotion that we're doing, right? What might be all of the ways to get people to slow down their beer drinking? There's lots of ideas. You can make a really tiny hole in the bottle, right? You could make them drink it out of a straw. Lots of different ways to do that, but they slowed people down by coming up with an idea that worked for them. So you name the problems that you want to work on, and you narrow down to the problems you're going to start with first. Now, the trick is you might have multiple problems you have to solve in order to get to your final success, but you can only work on one at a time, or you can break a group up into working on multiples. We did that when we did welfare reform in the United States. 50 groups, 50 states. In each state, in New York State, there are 52, 54 counties, I'm not quite sure, but we ran meetings in all of those counties to help them think it through. Diverge, converge, come up with the best process, right? So you've identified a problem. Now you're ready to generate ideas. This is the only place in the entire 7-step creative process where you generate ideas. Now you generate ideas to overcome your problem. Diverge, converge. Which ideas are you going to follow through? Now what you do, you come into that step after generating ideas. Now what you're going to do is you're going to prototype. You're going to create a prototype solution. So you take the ideas you like, you put them together into something. What we see ourselves doing is blah, 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 and then we'll blah, 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 and then we'll get this done. And before we do that, we'll do this. And to get the budget, we're going to do this, right? That's a solution statement. So you create a prototype solution statement. Then what you do is you get some good thinkers to look at that prototype solution statement. You bring some integrinators who are also polymath, who know how to manage their gator brain, who will praise first, but be rigorous with you nonetheless. Not your mom who says, that's a good idea, honey, but the mom who says, that's a good idea. I like this, and that about it, but I see something that might get in your way. Have you thought about how to solve this, right? That's what you want to strengthen and evaluate your prototype. So the diverge is what's all good about it. That's going to help you with marketing. That's going to help you with selling others. And then it's also diverge what's weak about it. And you strengthen it by generating solutions to overcome that weakness. So now you've got that prototype, right? You're clear about what it is you want to do. Next step is you make a plan for action. What are all the action steps that need to be taken to bring this forward into the world? And converge, who's doing which pieces, right? What's your plan? What's your stage gate process? What's your action plan? Who's doing what by when? Short, intermediate, long. There's lots of ways to organize that action step. And then finally, and this becomes more important in larger systems, you have to implement that action plan and evaluate that action plan. Is it working, right? So you implement and evaluate. And the evaluation is you go out and you try it in different places. So for instance, here's an example of implement, evaluate that went poorly. When the McDonald brothers, the guys that Ray Kroc kind of stole the business from in Southern California, had their restaurants, they tried franchising once. But when they did implement, they didn't do it well. When they evaluated, they couldn't keep the franchisees from trying too many things that messed up the brand. Ray Kroc's brilliance, if you will, was figuring out how to institutionalize the implementation so that the brand did not run astray. And to this day, you don't change things at a McDonald's individual restaurant that might be owned by you, the owner operator as a franchise, without corporate kind of saying, yeah, that makes sense to do. And that's a slow process because we're going to hold it solid. That's the creative process. 7 steps. Have a goal or wish. Figure out all the information that would be useful to know around that goal or wish that you can stand to learn. Figure out what the problems are that are getting in the way of that goal or wish. Generate some thinking to overcome those problems. Cook that thinking up into a prototype solution. Evaluate that solution. Make a plan for action. And then make sure that the action steps are getting you what it is that you want to get. That's the universal creative process. And if you use all the tools that we've talked about as you go through that universal creative process, you're going to get ahead. You don't always do the whole process. Sometimes you do more or less of it. That's the dynamic that we want to get ourselves better at in this masterclass.